The silver Porsche sped down sunny country roads, past farmhouses and fields. Kayla could hardly believe this was happening to her. She glanced at her companion, who was driving with concentration. His profile stood out against the sweeping countryside. His dark blue suit, immaculate shirt and cufflinks, all resembling stills from a movie. Kayla smoothed her skirt and took a deep breath. That morning, she went to the local market to get food for the dinner she was going to make for Simon that evening. In her early 20s, Kayla was looking for more than just a date. Her job in marketing took up almost all of her time, and as she bounced from one task to the next, she felt life slipping away from her. Earlier this year, she had registered on a popular dating site and had met Simon, a firefighter, 5 or 6 times in recent months. The fish counter was full, and while Kayla stood in line, she was distracted by a light touch on her shoulder. When she turned around, she saw the man who was now sitting in the Porsche with her, giving her a shy smile. "Hello," began the stranger in a suit, clearly out of place in the bustling Saturday market. "I hope you don't mind, but I have one question for you." Kayla, a little surprised, stepped out of line and walked over to him. His dark hair glistened in the sun, and taking off his sunglasses, he opened his bright blue eyes to her. The man rubbed his face, looking a little embarrassed. "What can I do for you?" Kayla asked. The man looked around as if gathering his thoughts. "I know this may seem strange, but I was supposed to go to a wedding today, and my friend let me down at the last minute." "That's a shame," Kayla smiled sympathetically. "But what can I do to help?" "Please say no if you're uncomfortable with this, but I really don't want to go alone." There was something old-fashioned and frilly about him that immediately caught her attention. "You want me to go to the wedding with you?" Kayla asked, surprised, feeling her cheeks begin to blush. "Exactly." The man took a step closer, his face expressing anticipation. "Would you mind? That would be very kind of you." Kayla wondered if this kind of thing would ever happen in real life except in the movies, but certainly not to her. The thought of the evening with Simon and the dinner plans suddenly lost their appeal. "Yes, I'll go with you, but I don't have anything to wear." Kayla pointed to her jeans and sneakers. "Thank you." Nathan smiled broadly. "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. My name is Nathan, by the way, and you are." After exchanging names, Nathan quickly took Kayla across town to a small boutique. It was just over an hour ago. The saleswoman named Monica had picked out the perfect turquoise silk dress for Kayla, a sequined handbag and shoes to match. The color of the dress accentuated the rich dark shades of Kayla's hair and eyes, and she looked stunning. Now she and Nathan were driving through the picturesque countryside. Kayla looked for her phone to tell Simon that their date was cancelled, but she couldn't find it. She was sure that she had put her phone in her bag with her keys. Nathan assured her that there was no need to worry. The phone must have been left in the boutique, and he would make sure that they would pick it up later. The Porsche rumbled, climbing hills and descending into valleys. "Thank you so much for agreeing to help me." Nathan glanced at Kayla as they drove over the small stone bridge. "We're almost there. What kind of place is it? What kind of people are there?" Kayla felt a slight stirring. "You'll be perfectly safe. You'll fit in perfectly." Nathan winked and Kayla felt his charm again, though she couldn't help but wonder if she had done the right thing by going with a stranger. Just as she began to question him about the morning's events, the car slowed down and Nathan stopped at a massive black gate in a wooded area. He leaned out the window to talk on the intercom, then turned to Kayla with a smile as the gate opened and the Porsche drove into the dense forest. The car moved slowly along the narrow road, the sun's rays breaking through the dense tree crowns. Kayla thought she could see small houses between the trees and paths winding through the forest. "Where are we?" "I've never been here before," she asked as Nathan gently moved the car forward. "Not many people have seen this place," Nathan answered. "The house has stood here 4 years, and the estate stretches 4 miles. The couple who are getting married are incredibly lucky to be celebrating here." His voice grew more serious. "I hope you realize this is truly a unique place." "Lucky me then, too," Kayla laughed, but feeling a little awkward, didn't say anything else. When the car pulled out from behind the trees, Kayla saw a breathtaking view. Between two green hills stood a stately mansion with towers, tall windows, and neat lawns, while fairy tale columns framed the massive doors. Everything looked perfect as the car creaked down the gravel driveway. "We can stop here," Nathan said, turning off the engine. "Someone will come and take the car to the garage." "Have you been here before?" Kayla asked. "Yeah, you could say I'm lucky too," Nathan replied, looking at her a little longer than expected before he smiled again. "By the way, here's something I didn't mention." He reached into the back seat and pulled out two black silk bags, holding one out to Kayla. She cautiously looked inside. "Now I see why you didn't say that beforehand," Kayla exclaimed, pulling a cheetah head mask out of her bag. It was exquisitely carved from light-colored wood and painted with predatory features. She looked back at Nathan and saw him with the Labrador mask on his face. "It looks good on you." Kayla giggled slightly nervously, tying a ribbon to secure her mask on her head. As they approached, the doors of the mansion swung open, revealing the splendor of the marble and gold lobby. High ceilings, wide staircases on either side, all breathed luxury. Inside the hall, there was a bustle caused by the large crowd of guests. The men were dressed in perfectly tailored dark blue suits and off-white shirts. The women in turquoise silk dresses, the same as Carr was wearing, and everyone wore a mask. Rabbits, bears, chickens, hamsters, lions, and wolves flashed around, a cacophony of animals in elaborate outfits. "What's going on?" Kayla stepped back frightened, but Nathan managed to support her. "Don't worry, you'll be fine. I told you you'd fit in, didn't I?" At that moment, a loud bell rang from the roof, and the hall was filled with echoes. All were instantly silent. A burly man in a wild boar mask appeared on the right staircase and, stopping midway, announced loudly, "Friends, it's time for the celebration and the marvelous union of Christopher and Samantha. Please proceed to the ceremonial hall." The crowd, masked and dressed, moved to the far corner of the hall and went out through the massive oak door. Through the noise came the gentle sounds of harps, and Kayla looked at Nathan. He put his arm around her waist and gently urged her to follow the others. Kayla joined the stream of guests heading into the great room, her heart pounding with excitement and slight awkwardness. The room was even more luxurious, decorated in silver and shades of blue and green. On the far wall was a stage draped with a dark purple curtain, where a man in a lion mask and a woman in a mouse mask were holding hands. "I'll find our seats," Nathan said. "Wait a bit," and headed toward the seating plan hanging on the wall. Kayla, feeling awkward, followed him, making her way through the crowd. Nathan ran his finger down the list until he found his name and tapped on table number 8. Kayla saw Nathan and Kayla next to it. Nathan turned around and almost ran into her. "Table 8, he said, taking her hand. A note of irritation flickered in his voice, and Kayla regretted that she had followed him. They made their way to their table near the stage. Nathan pulled out a chair for Kayla. "How did they know to write my name?" she asked in surprise when he sat down next to her. Nathan leaned closer, his Labrador mask almost touching her face. "They know their business here. Just relax and enjoy. The ceremony is about to begin." The man in the wild boar mask now stood on the stage with the lion and the mouse, whom Kayla thought were Christopher and Samantha. All the guests, already seated at their tables, quieted down, focusing their attention on what was happening. Kayla wished she'd had her phone to take a few pictures. No one would believe her if she told them about a wedding like this. What followed was the strangest wedding ceremony Kayla had ever seen. The man in the boar mask, whom Nathan called Greg, presided over the ceremony, reading out the marriage vows. They were all traditional, but with unusual additions like "live as my mask" and "honor my lover's mask." It seemed excessive to Kayla. She'd heard of themed weddings, but this one exceeded expectations. Greg turned to Christopher and Samantha. "The marriage must be sealed with a kiss, so we can begin our celebration." At that moment, Kayla noticed children dressed in blue robes and peacock masks handing champagne glasses to the guests. "We will drink to the couple's happiness," Greg continued. "As soon as they seal their union, But we can't do it by staying in our characters. We must take off our masks and reunite. Greg then signaled to the couple on stage and the crowd, and began to remove his mask. Kayla watched the couple's faces with bated breath. Her fingers trembling, she began to untie her mask. She shifted her gaze from Greg to Christopher, thinking they could have been father and son. But then her attention was drawn to Samantha. Kayla's breath caught. It was like looking in a mirror, only a little younger. Samantha appeared to be an exact replica of her. Kayla looked at the woman across from her, who had taken off her dolphin mask, revealing a face that looked like her own, but with fine wrinkles. She then looked at Nathan, who had removed his mask, revealing a familiar face that appeared to be shared by all the men around them. Dark hair and piercing blue eyes. "This can't be real," Kayla whispered, feeling panic rising. Kayla tried to get up, but the world spun around her as her gaze darted from one identical face to the next. It was becoming unbearable. What was this? Some kind of trick or a crazy prank? She looked again at the scene where Christopher and Samantha were engulfed in a passionate kiss, their masks dangling in their hands. Greg was watching them, clapping his hands, smiling and toasting the guests below. To Christopher and Samantha, he exclaimed loudly. Christopher and Samantha. They stood up and raised their glasses. Nathan sipped from his glass, then grabbed Kayla's wrist firmly, pulling her back to her seat. Kayla turned to him, her eyes full of tears. "You tricked me," she breathed out. "You led me to something. What is this even? What's going on here?" "Nathan." "Calm down. Here, drink this." Nathan handed her a champagne glass. Kayla took it and drank it down. She had to get out of here. Kayla felt the softness of the cotton sheets as she wiped her eyes. Her head felt heavy, and she couldn't tell what time it was. She looked at the clock. 11:30. Was it morning or evening? The light was dim, and the only thing she realized was that she was in bed and felt awful. "Hello, sleepyhead," came a familiar voice. "I thought you'd never wake up." "Nathan." A dim light gradually filled the room, coming from a tall lamp in the corner. Under the lamp sat Nathan. Or was it him? How? What? How do I know it's you? What's going on? Kayla began to come to her senses, her thoughts returning to the wedding and the faces. Oh God, those faces. Yes, that's me. See, Nathan pulled out his Labrador mask. "I'm the only brown Labrador here. I'm sorry about earlier," he said softly. Kayla got out of bed, relieved to find she was still dressed, but that uneasy feeling she'd experienced earlier returned with renewed vigor, making her nauseous and panic clutching her throat. "Please, Nathan, just let me go. I won't say anything. Just let me go home, please." "You have a choice." Nathan crossed the room and sat on the bed next to her. "You're facing a choice that could change your life forever." "A choice? What choice?" Kayla struggled to breathe, feeling her throat constrict with fear. "Let me explain," Nathan continued, lowering his voice. "This house was bought by Greg's great-grandparents, Chester and Demi, in the mid-19th century. They were born into wealth, but were frustrated by how much society was fixated on appearances. They purchased the place to create a new community. They called it the Order of Peacocks, a kind of tribute to such vain creatures. Their goal was to create an environment where people would judge each other on character rather than appearance. With Victorian determination, they set about creating a community of people who looked just like them. People with matching facial features were found in neighboring towns and villages, brought here and left, offered anything they might want. Each was given a mask reflecting their true character, so that they would not be judged by their human appearance. Children were taught and raised in this society, and when they reached adulthood, they received their masks and moved into the house with the rest of the order. Over time, Chester and Demi developed genetic processes that improved the appearance of each newborn until they achieved their dream of creating the perfect society. So this is some kind of crazy genetic experiment. Well, I don't want any part of it. Tears streamed down Kayla's face. "Here." Nathan held out a handkerchief to her. "Please let me finish." There has been an imbalance in our society lately. Not enough girls. Greg has assigned special envoys, like me, to find new members to join us. You're easy to find. Your online dating profile gave a good idea of your looks and personality. That's why I chose the cheetah mask for you. What? With long legs and a pimple? Kayla blew her nose into her handkerchief, gradually realizing what was happening. Nathan took her hand and looked at her with an almost pleading look. Energetic, smart, fast, good at survival. The perfect mask for you, Kayla. Your life is out of control, isn't it? You work tirelessly and feel like the only way to find a soulmate is through a dating site. You barely have time to live a life worth living. What are you trying to say, Nathan? Do you want me to stay here? The choice is yours. Nathan looked intently into her eyes. I can get you back to your old life, if that's what you want. But here I can offer something very different. The Order of the Peacocks will take care of you for the rest of your life if you choose this path. We have people we care for outside the Order as well. Those who were born here, but didn't meet our criteria. We have provided them with homes and livelihoods. For example, Monica, who works in a boutique. Kayla stared at him, her thoughts reeling in chaos. Why me? Besides my looks, of course. Nathan sighed. Because you're perfect for this, Kayla. Just like me. He picked up the cheetah mask lying on the table next to the bed. Take it and think of the future you could have. Beautiful Kayla. Kayla held the elegant wooden mask in her hands, feeling its warmth and smoothness. She looked at Nathan, trying to see the real person behind his face. An unexpected feeling of calmness came over her, and she smiled.